So it's about 10 o'clock on the 20th of November, and I'm sitting in my bedroom. The leaves on the hawthorn hedge outside the window have almost all fallen off here, and the sun is streaming through, creating some amazing shadow protections. And what has happened is, of course, that as the leaves have fallen, the sun is getting lower in the sky. So it's about 25 degrees lower. In the summer, the sun would be above the house. But here, on these sort of like 6 weeks either side of the winter solstice, it's much lower, and it shines through for about an hour every day, creating my wonderful shadow show. And this room is a one that I spend a lot of time in, about an hour every morning. I'm here. I have an autoimmune condition. I take medication in the morning, steroid medication, and it's a low, slow acting steroid, and it takes about an hour to kick in. And I have learned through, trial and error, that I get so much more out of the day if I deliberately keep the start slow. If I lean into what my body is doing, my body wants, and I sit with a cup of tea, with my knitting or a book, I watch the birds on the bird table, and I start slowly. So one of the delights of my year is when this shadow show starts. And I know to really pay attention, because by February, it won't be happening anymore for a year. And it's an interesting thing, this month in the studio, one of our kind of weekly prompts has been light seeking. And it's been interesting how many of the studio members have talked about shadows and posted pictures of seed heads shadows, or the way that the light comes into their kitchen, or pavement. Just once you start looking for it, it is one of the joys of this time of year, where there is the low angle of the sunshine, just creating wonders. So I have been thinking about how I have set up this room and my living room to kind of be the thresholds of the day, the bookmarks of the day, very different rooms, but very intentionally set out. I was thinking about, are there actual physiological reasons that the things that I have done work? And it turns out that there are. So I thought I would just give you a little tour around the beginning of my day and the end of my day. So if you have watched any of these videos, you will know that I am naturally a very messy person. I am very much a wardrobe kind of person, a chairdrobe kind of person. And if I wasn't really intentional about this space, it would be full of heaps of things. But because I want to have it as the ideal place to wake up and spend time, I put a lot of effort into trying to keep just this space clean and calm and free of clutter. Don't always manage it, but about 70% of the time. So this room was made from what was originally the garage. So we could plan it a bit. And so there is a big light window to the front. And then at the side, there are French doors. And in the summer, this means that we can open all of this. And I like a cool bedroom anyway, so it really becomes part of the outside. And it's a beautiful, beautiful space. But obviously in the winter, you can't have the doors open. We would freeze. So it becomes very, very different. The window has my bird feeder on it. And this is a gift from my daughters. And it's just been the most wonderful gift ever. It sticks to the window. And because it's next to the hedge, the birds feel quite safe and they all stay in the hedge and then they come down and feed, or they stand on the windowsill. And it means that I can see, you know, like the blue tits with their swivel heads and the chaffinches, who are really the boldest in our garden. And there's blackbirds, there's goldfinches, all of those pretty little birds, and all of the sparrows, the dunnocks, that there are dozens of them in the hedge, and they just fly around, wonderful, wonderful things, and project onto the window. One of the best things about waking up is this painting. And the painting is by my friend Christine MacArthur. I met Christine when I grew cut flowers, and I had a kind of a shop in my drive, like a gate shop, and I had an old green Citroen van, and every week Christine would come and she'd buy flowers to paint. And after a year, she put them all together, and there was a big exhibition in Glasgow called Friday Flowers. And after the exhibition was finished, she gave me this painting, which is of pink tulips, lots of tulips that I grew, really long stemmed, you know, all colours of pinks and cream and green and parrot tulips and lily tulips, glorious. And when Christine gave it to us, we couldn't afford to get it framed. You know, we were kind of like a little bit short of cash, shall I say. So I didn't want it to get damaged, so I hung it without a frame. And I always thought, you know, I'll get a frame for it in the future. But now, now I just love it without its frame. It just feels light and bright and casual, and it's the first thing that I see when I wake up in the mornings, and it is that promise of spring. It is so beautiful, and every time I look at it, it is new. This is the May garden, so it's particularly nice to see it as we go into winter. And what I would say is, if you have a piece of art that you really love, I would say, you know, hang it where you're going to see it first thing. Hang it just for you, and start your day with something beautiful. And over here, on top of the chest of drawers, I have a big jug of branches from an ash tree. The ash tree, one of the, like a big limb from this ash tree fell off onto the road, and it was moved to the verge. This was Storm Amy, so a couple of storms ago, and it was just put on the verge. And I thought, well, actually, it's not that big. So one of my walks, I dragged it home, and we chopped up the bits of the branch that could go into the wood store, and then I took these twigs for the bedroom. Now, I suspect that they're not going to come out. It's not going to be like forcing branches in the spring, because ash is always very late anyway. But they've got these black ends to the branches, a bit like cloven hoofs. They're just gorgeous. And then at night, if I want to, I can put a little tea light underneath it. Those branches just spread all over the ceiling. It's wonderful. Again, it is shadows. And for an hour, every day, they are on the bedhead here. And sometimes they're really crisp because it's a bright, crisp, sunny day. And other days they are much softer if it's cloudy. Sometimes I can see the birds in the hedge. Sometimes it's just the leaves slightly kind of trembling in the wind. It's different all the time. And it's just something that's so relaxing to watch. Of course, you might not have a hedge, but it's possible just to put something in your window where you know the sun's going to hit it at some point. That is seed heads or some twigs, just something where it will allow that wonderful interplay. So that's what this room does. It starts me off with soft attention, with beauty, with nature coming in, with the play of light as it begins the day. It starts me off with things that are ephemeral, that fill me up, that allow me to pay attention. And now I'm going to go and I will show you the room that does the other end of the day, which is my living room. So this is my living room. And you see it's quite a different space. And up until relatively recently, it's a room we didn't use very much. It's the biggest room in the house. And we painted it, it's kind of like off-white, the rest of the house. And it had the telly in it and it had a couple of sofas. But it never felt warm. It never felt cozy. It never felt somewhere you'd want to go and spend time. And that seemed to be a ridiculous waste, really. So we decided we'd change it. And the first thing that we did was we repainted it, got rid of all of the off-white and went for this really beautiful, dark, slightly greenish navy blue. It's matte and it looks like the colour of the night sky. It's beautiful colour. And then Ewan shelved the whole room, put reclaimed scaffolding boards, which you can get from a firm in Glasgow, and put them right the way around to kind of turn it into something that felt a bit more like a library. I didn't want a room that was dominated by the television. I don't watch much television, and I find that the less television that I watch, the more other things that I get to do. So we wanted the television to kind of like shrink in importance, but also for things like books to become more important, to this to be a space that you could read or write or do mindful sewing or knit, chat with friends around. It's that kind of cozy interactive space. So we went for task lighting and the dark walls and a room full of books. Didn't buy anything new. It's still got the same sofas. It's got my dad's piano. I got a mantelpiece made out of a piece of scaffolding board. I've always wanted a mantelpiece and I don't know why we didn't do it earlier, but I've now got this mantelpiece and it's got an amazingly bad picture of a prize bull, which I rescued from going into a skip. It has candlesticks because it's a nice, safe place to have candles. I love candles. The candlelight, it's such a treat. So I have an old brass candlestick and I've got this beautiful lion candlestick, which is made by Charlotte Salt, who's a British ceramicist. And I got that to celebrate 1 million views on YouTube here, because it kind of felt surreal and as though it should be marked. And then, postcards and dried alliums and things. And it just is this focus of squirrel-like nature. But the thing that this room has done for me is that now I have this kind of space with its lower lights. And the thing is that if you have low light in the evening, it starts that production of melatonin, which is going to get you into your circadian rhythm to go to bed. If you're not on phone or a tablet or a computer with that blue light, it allows the natural rhythms to go. So reading a book or sewing or knitting or just sitting, listening to an audiobook, something, it has given me this period of wind down so that when I go to bed, I'm actually much more likely to fall asleep. I'm less wired. And when I get to sleep, I sleep more soundly. So where my bedroom is all sort of like optimized to being this kind of a waking up space, this living room is optimized for winding down and cozying up, making the most of these dark evenings with firelight and candlelight and just currying in to end the day. This is the kind of thing that we discuss a lot in the studio. As I mentioned last week, we are moving to a waiting list today. So as you watch this, it will be Friday. If you're an early watcher and you see this on the Friday, today is the last day to actually join the studio club until the next sort of intake from the waiting list. It's the right size. It's the right time. If you're quick, you can join that. Otherwise, sign up for the waiting list, and as and when places become available, I'll be letting you know. And let me know in the comments whether this time of year is a difficult one for you, and if you've got any tips for getting through it. And otherwise, I shall see you next Friday. Bye bye.